Okay, sorry for the abrupt ending on the last segment. I think the battery died. I've had this happen before, so my little camera just stops. But it doesn't. We didn't lose the segment, so that's good. Where was I? Well, talking about other lives. In this life, in the late 1700s, incidentally, I was born in Scotland and lived in this country since 1961. But in this life, in that life, I was an American born, and it was a British sentry that shot me in this dock area. I was soon Boston. I was crouched behind a barrel. I had a one of those flintlock pistols that you see, and an Indian, I guess he worked for the British, and he spotted me, and I'm not sure what I was doing there, but obviously I was up to no good as far as the British were concerned. The Indian spotted me, and I shot at him, um, but he was out of range, but the noise of my pistol attracted the attention of the sentry, and he approached, and he raised this long rifle, uh, and just fired. And as I went down, I felt a searing pain in my solar plexus area. And but before, it's like slow motion almost. I saw every detail of his features, his uniform, the white crisscross things, the hat, the the leggings, the boots. I mean, it was incredible. It was as if it happened yesterday. I mean, in most dreams, they fade very quickly. You don't even remember them. And the few you do remember, it's not too much detail. But this, I'll never forget. If I saw that man today, I'd know his face. He had the most unfeeling, uncaring face, cruel almost, and he felt no remorse whatsoever when he shot me. He could have captured me, obviously, uh, but he chose to shoot me, and the pain was so intense it woke me up out of sleep when I was dreaming this or experiencing this. Uh, and I fell asleep, still feeling that pain, and it continued on. The whole thing continued from where it left off. There was no break whatsoever. Uh, I'd gone down, and I was on my stomach, and I felt he had this big long bayonet at the end of his rifle. I felt that bayonet in my back, and that's when everything went black. Now my teacher, who I told about this later, the one I mentioned, he told me that was my last life, and he said as a youth I'd lived with the Indians, and although I'd shot at that Indian, he was not, with the ones that I was with, and uh, to this day, he said, you have a very strong sense of justice, or a sense of the injustice that the Indians went through at the hands of the white man. He said, you were not Indian, but you were raised by Indians back then in that life. Very interesting. And then as I say, I saw lives as an artisan, as a jeweler in Egypt, and he told me in that life I worked with golden jewelry. Um, and uh, I'm losing my thought a little bit. Senior moment. I'm 75. Forgive me. But I had some very vivid experiences. As I say, as being captured by the Muslims. That brings up a very important subject. You know, whether you choose or not to believe in reincarnation, I believe absolutely it's true. And if it's true, we've all been everything. So to hate somebody because they're black, let's say, which is ridiculous. I mean, why would you hate somebody because of the skin color? But I know they say they hate people because of what they represent. Well, um, it makes absolutely no sense, because you're hating yourself. You've been that person. You've been that race before. You've been Jewish. You've been Arab, or you've been Muslim. You've been Buddhist. You've been everything there is to be. Every race there is to be. And so to hate somebody because of their ethnic or religious beliefs or whatever, it's so ridiculous. It baffles one's sense of logic. I mean, you're just hating yourself, and how can you feel good when you're hating somebody else? You can't feel good. You feel lousy. And so we're ruining our own quality of life if we're filled with hate. If we're a skinhead or something like that, or anti-Semitic or something. I mean, it's the stupidest thing you can imagine, but we're so primitive, we're so unevolved, that many of us are like that. And but we'll never be able to progress to those higher spiritual levels if we hold these beliefs. So it really behooves us all to put aside all that childish stuff, set aside differences. We could have the most beautiful world in the world that you can imagine on Earth, right here on Earth, if people would stop, hating each other, stop fighting each other, stop stealing from each other. Can you imagine if the Earth was like that? If people just would do the right thing by each other, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There'd be no need for locks on the doors, no need for any kind of guns or knives or weapons at all. I mean, and it could be so tranquil and beautiful. But I guess the majority of people just don't want that. They want turmoil. They want all this violence and this turmoil. Why? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. Anyway, I'm sorry to get on the soapbox and start preaching like this, but I'm not in Minster. But anyway, well, let me, I've lost track of time. I better not take a chance. Let me cut it off and I'll come back.